Hey, I'm gonna say weird personal shit. If you don't want to hear weird personal shit, just don't watch this.
Duh.
All right, so I'm just looking at these. I'm following the Manson family, and basically they have all these things where there's really kind of like patterns. There's what am I trying to say? I'm trying to get my head out of the gutter. Basically, like it's weird that like I feel like the Manson family is kind of interesting because there's some kind of like fundamental human things that go on there that kind of make you wonder, like, is that kind of underneath like a lot of humans? What do I mean specifically? Well, something I never really noticed until recently, but basically, like, the Manson family, it basically seems like all of them, like a lot of them, basically Manson and like a lot of the girls and the guys, they basically seem like not quite talented enough. Like basically Manson was like he went to Los Angeles and he wanted to be like a star, like a music star. And then a lot of the Manson family people, they look kind of like almost starlets, but just a little too ugly, a little too trashy, a little too stupid. And I'm convinced that that's a fucking thing. Is like, I feel like that too. I feel like just I'm a little too trashy, a little too ugly, but well, actually I'm a lot too, I'm not talented enough, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm too old. There's all these kind of things where like I relate to somebody who's just kind of like not like the top tier person and kind of bitter and rejected. And so what's the point? Like I could never imagine killing somebody, but I think that's a very relatable thing, is like basically you had all these kind of like b team B team people. Were they B team? I don't know, but basically they were like, I feel like they wanted to be stars. Like if you look at the Manson family people, get the point, Sean. Manson family girls, like basically they were kind of like the ugly girls. They were like they were good, but they weren't like Sharon Tate good. Like if you look at Sharon Tate was like top tier, top notch, top shelf, cream of the crop, star. Like she's like the super popular girl. And then these are kind of like the not super popular girls, but they kind of had their moment in the spotlight and they loved it. They loved it. They're like, look, we got famous. And that seems like a really kind of fundamental human thing. It just like uh, in How to Win Friends and Influence People, they say that like a lot of like Al Capone and people when they got the death sentence, they were just like, we got to be in the fucking newspaper. And it seems like that is a fundamental human thing. Like I feel that way. Like I feel like I would almost, if I thought like just telling all my personal garbage or even just saying some kind of things that could be like bad for humanity, like if you were like a bad influence, you could just be like, I don't give a fuck. Like I want to be famous. I'm a great man. Like I should be in the spotlight. And so, what's the point? I think that's a fundamental human thing that's played out in a lot of different ways. Taking it like a little further, I think that there's a little of that in Donald Trump and Joe Rogan and a lot of these like influencer guys too. In like the modern day of like influencers, there's definitely like a cult type thing where some dudes who couldn't make it in like the normal channels of like CNN or like the movies or something like Jocko, he's a major influencer. He wanted to be like a rock star, but he wasn't a rock star. But he could like kill people, and so he's like, "Fuck that! I'm great." He kind of went against the. A lot of the Navy SEALs said you shouldn't like take Navy SEAL to YouTube, and he's like, "I still want to be a star. I am great." And he kind of like he did kind of have like a little bit of a toxic influence, but he had good influence too. Which point I think there's like just a thing where like that's always been a thing. There's always been, men want like greatness, they want stardom, and sometimes they don't care how they get it. And so I think in some cases, if they're not talented enough, if they're not talented enough or political enough to make it in the normal channels, if they're street savvy enough and brave enough, sometimes they can do it in some kind of like raw, unfiltered way. I don't know if that I asked that. I basically said like Trump basically had that thing where he went to that party and Obama was like, "Here's something, you'll never be president." And then he kind of like said, "Oh yeah, like I'm really political. I have my boots on the ground with like real people, and there's a lot more of us than there are of you, you fucking high society people." And so that's kind of like a little like these people is like Donald Trump or Charles Manson said like, I can like manipulate all these people and get them to like lash back at you. And so there's a little of that with Joe Rogan too. Like Joe Rogan was kind of like always kind of shunned by Joe Rogan really wasn't like top notch talented in terms of like comedy, but he really could like connect with. He was raw and like he was street savvy and he could like deal with like real life, and he was more accessible to like blue collar like kind of low life people. He's more like kind of like an everyman, and so basically a lot of everyman is like, hey, yeah, like we like this guy better, and then Joe Rogan's like, hey, there's a lot more of us than there are of you. And so anyway, I feel like Joe Rogan is like, there's a little Charles Manson in Joe Rogan, Donald Trump, like a lot of influencer people really, and then yeah, people really do sort of inherently like strength and bravery, and they seem to not really like weakness. And as a broad generalization, I think that if you're like a weak, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm like a weak person, you stand a better chance like having a better life with the help of like some sort of civil society than you do in like the wild animal world. Because like a lot of these, if I listen to the Manson family, a lot of the weak dudes just got like bullied and like killed or something. And so anyway, what's your point, John? I think that the Manson family is kind of an interesting phenomenon because it does seem like there's some kind of underlying basic human thing. I think the basic human things are, in a lot of cases, if you strip away a lot of the shit that people tell themselves, a lot of humans, they just want like superiority to some degree, and they want fame, and they don't even necessarily care how they get it. Like that's something I've kind of noticed is like Jocko or like those Navy SEAL guys, they were like, I want to have a fucking influence. And like there was this guy called Johnny Kim who was like a Navy SEAL guy, and for a while he's like, you're gonna fucking notice me, like I'm gonna have a fucking effect. And for a while that involved killing people. Like he's like, hey, I can like influence people, I can really affect their fucking day. And so he did that by like shooting a bunch of people, and he's like, I can affect people. And then he sort of saw like, oh, that's not so good. And then he became a Harvard doctor where he like saved people. And then it kind of was like a similar thing. Like he just wants to have some power. He wants to be able to affect people. He wants to be like, I'm going to fucking make a mark somehow. And so which point, I think there's like a little of that in like a lot of humans. And what, Sean? I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if just the best healers are the best wounders. Sometimes I wonder if just like the best is to just have any mark on at all is better than just some kind of like flat line, like not really good, not really bad, no one really knows or cares. And I wonder if just a lot of people feel like that, but maybe not. Maybe I don't really know what I'm talking about. Anyway, but then there's this weird phenomenon too when these people got older, that like crazy, like, I don't give a fuck, look, I can put an X on my head. It's not so cool when you're like 50. That's something that seems really clear is like all these Manson family people, when you can like thumb your nose at society and thumb your nose at like, you can say a bunch of crazy bullshit and just do something like, look how daring I am. But then when you're 50, it's not so fucking cool without the safety net stuff, without like money, fame, and like just health and functioning and having a good reputation. Those seem to all be like, and just family. It seems like having a family and stuff seems like really important in like older people world. Anyway, what's your point, Sean? I don't know what I'm saying. Another weird thing is, I'm just gonna keep ranting, is like my ex was like one of the only women I really knew well, and like she always like this like true crime shit. She always like this like Dr. G medical examiner, and it turns out that's like a really common thing with like a lot of women, is they like these kind of like dark like tragedy, real murderer things. And if I ask ChatGPT, I'm like, what's that about? Like, why do women like all these like true crime things? They say that, I don't know, I kind of like them too. To me, there's something like tantalizing about it. There's something about like there's this weird feeling that I get if I listen to Jocko podcast and he's talking about all these like murders and people getting their heads cut off and stuff, there's some kind of feeling of like, it makes me feel alive, as though if I stuck my hand into like a bowl full of eyeballs, there's like this like, it's like it wakes you up. There's kind of like a pungent aroma that like wakes you up, that makes you feel a little more alive. I like that feeling. Also, I think a lot of people, they've listened, like I think there's ChatGPT says that like a lot of women subconsciously, they feel like they're potential victims. And so they watch these and go like, oh no, like how could I be victimized? This particular documentary about the Manson girls and how they were brainwashed and victimized is on the Oxygen Network, which is like a channel for women. They used to have this thing called the Lifetime Network channel for women, and they would always have some kind of B-rated movie that was about some woman who was victimized by like a bad man. And I feel like there's some kind of fundamental thing about that too. I don't know quite how to explain it. Maybe I'm oversimplifying, but I feel like women, the nature of women to some degree, is that they're bound to be victimized. Some man is gonna get them. He's gonna stick them, and they're kind of like, I don't know. To some degree, I feel like women are somehow like, please victimize me nicely. Like women, they're. What am I trying to say? I think they want some like, I don't know. It seems like they want to be victimized nicely. I don't know quite what I'm trying to say, but it seems like the nature of women is like they're gonna get stuck. They're gonna get stuck by some guy, and that guy has to be like at least daring enough to stick them. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but there is something weird about like, I feel like women, they want to believe that some man's gonna get them or something. Maybe like a really bad thing is to realize that they've gotten like a lot older, and it's like, hey, guess what? Nobody wants to like get you at all. I don't know. There's some kind of weird thing with women where I feel like I don't know, for whatever reason, they're interested in like true crime, murder, tragedy stuff. A lot of them are. Who knows why? There's probably a lot of different reasons for different women. What else? And then, like, so basically, according to ChatGPT, it's that women basically, they do feel like at some subconscious level, they're prone to be victimized, or they're more likely to be victimized, and they're trying to like study like, how did the man manipulate them? They're trying to protect themselves and be like, I need to make sure that I don't get victimized or manipulated by some bad man. And then on the flip side of that, if I ask ChatGPT, I'm like, are there a lot of men doing the opposite? Like, are there a lot of men listening to victimizer, criminal, hustler, bad men, and trying to kind of take notes on like, how can I victimize somebody either financially or sexually? And so, and it says yes. There's a lot of guys listening to Andrew Tate, or like former mafia men, or like former Navy SEALs, and being like, I want to learn how to be like a bad man that can like that can get women or get money or get the better of others. And what's the point? I don't know. I don't know if it's quite that simple, but I definitely like a lot of dark like killer stuff. I notice if I'm left to my own devices, it is kind of more interesting than just watching daytime TV or something. And then apparently it's a really popular thing with women. And so anyway, just fucking weird thoughts. Boy, I love this filter. I'll tell you what. I got this little filter on my face, and that could not be more clear as day to me. Is just, there seems to be nothing that makes me feel better than just liking how I look. And so I just want to get a fucking job, and then I'm just gonna get dermal filler and put it in my face. I just want to look like how I look right now, and get rid of that. I gotta get rid of that line. And I don't get how, I guess that's some kind of thing that's more emphasized in me. I don't get how other men are not like that. Like, just the difference of putting a filter on my face makes my whole experience of life so much better. If I take off this filter, everything's like rotten and just like, oh God. Everything feels horrible and shitty. And so what's my point? I don't know if I never hear any other men talk about that, but I'm basically, yesterday I tried to have like no filter, and the day before I had no filter, and the whole day felt like stinking and rotten and hopeless. And then like, if I put on this filter, I'm just like, oh God, I feel so much better. And so, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me that I'm so, like, that's my whole feeling of security. And I think I'm just terrified of death. I'm terrified of aging and death. And when I was young, it was what made women have sex with me, the few who had sex with me. And so you just have like sex, aging, and death is all on my mind. And it's basically linked to the youth on my face and I just want to get it back, but what's the point? Or I just at least want to like plug the holes. I gotta like get a job, and I'm just gonna go fill it up, plump it up. I don't care. Just I don't want to see all the melting on wrinkles and deterioration. Just fill it up. Anyway, I got a job interview in a couple hours. Until then, I'm gonna go buy a bunch of. I'm gonna do a bulimia pig out session. That's all I'm doing now. Is I'm watching bullshit on YouTube, walking my dog, running my dog occasionally, and then bulimia pig out session. Anyway.